Quick spoiler warning, for the first 3 books in the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson, you're going to want to read those. At first, there were those who didn't think the Deepness was a serious danger, at least not to them. However, it brought with it a blight that I have seen infect nearly every part of the land. Armies are useless before it. Great cities are laid low by its power. Crops fail, and the land dies. This is the thing I fight. This is the monster I must defeat. I fear that I have taken too long. Already, so much destruction has occurred that I fear for mankind's survival. Is this truly the end of the world, as many of the philosophers predict? Throughout the first era of Mistborn books, we read through many epigraphs describing an ancient entity which threatened the people of Scadrial prior to the Lord Ruler's ascension. It actually happened right when the Well of Ascension was just about to be full. This force blocked off sunlight, which, as you can imagine, stopped crops from growing, making people starve, and it would also just outright attack people. Now, the Lord Ruler and the Steel Ministry did a good job at sort of confusing this bit of history. The Steel Ministry depicted the Deepness as a vague, formless enemy that the Lord Ruler defeated prior to ascending. Now, what actually happened is that when Rashek ascended, he didn't really know what he was doing at all, and he had a short amount of time, so he moved Scadrial closer to the sun to try and burn the Deepness off because he thought it was still a threat. But because of the heat, he had to change the plant life and add in the ash mounts to spew out ash to block out the sun. So he caused this big mess, which resulted in the problematic world we see in Vin's current time, the Final Empire, where ash continuously falls from the sky, making for a rather depressing aesthetic. One of the good things that he did create is Lerasium, which is the metal that's found by the Well of Ascension, and it's named after Leras, who is preservation at the time. But I'm rambling, so what exactly was the Deepness? Well, reading through the books, you don't really know for the longest time. There's one epigraph early on which tells us that it's sentient, but it's not until the Hero of Ages when we finally learn that the Deepness is the mist. It wasn't really hard to guess, but the book leads you to think that it might have been something else. The very mist which comes out at night and acts as a pretty cool atmospheric effect in these books, not to mention it seems to be sort of comforting for those who use allomancy, with Mistborn even designing their cloaks to look similar to the mist. But the thing is, people misunderstood the intentions of the Deepness. It was never meant to be such a terrible thing. Actually, later on, once you learn about ruin and preservation, and I'm gonna have to make a whole nother video on those two at some point, but once you learn about these two shards, they play a big role in what the Deepness is. Most of this is summed up near the end of the 3rd book with the epigraph from chapter 81, which of course we know is written by Sazed, the true Hero of Ages. Now bear with me because this epilogue is a bit longer. When Preservation set up the mist, he was afraid of Ruin escaping his prison. In those early days before the Ascension, the mist began to snap people as they did during our time. But this action of the mist was one of the only ways to awaken allomancy in a person, for their genetic attributes were buried too deeply to be brought out by a simple beating. The mists of that day created mistings only, of course. There was no Mistborn until the Lord Ruler made use of the nuggets. The people misinterpreted the mist's intent, as the process of snapping allomancers caused some, particularly the young and the old, to die. This hadn't been Preservation's desire, but he'd given up most of his consciousness to form Ruin's prison, and the mists had to be left to work as best they could without specific direction. Ruin, subtle as ever, knew that he couldn't stop the mist from doing their work. However, he could do the unexpected and encourage them, and so he helped make them stronger. That brought death to the plants of the world, and created the threat that became known as the Deepness. So we know Preservation used up almost all of his power to imprison Ruin with the power in the Well of Ascension. Preservation knew that he needed someone to go to the well every 1,000 years or so to use the power and keep Ruin contained. That's the true reason why he created the Deepness, to snap people into becoming allomancers, in the hope that one will hear the pounding at the well and use the power to keep Ruin in check. Ruin was the one responsible for strengthening the mists and for manipulating the Terrace prophecies about the Hero of Ages, making it seem like the hero needed to defeat the Deepness by releasing the power at the well. Of course, this is actually how you free Ruin from his prison, and that's what he wanted. So as odd as it is to say, it's kind of a good thing that Rashek got rid of Alendi and took the power at the Well of Ascension for himself rather than releasing it. It was the good thing to do, but I don't think his intentions were good, and he kind of messed everything up afterwards. But of course, someone eventually was going to release the power, thinking it to be the right thing to do, and unfortunately, this was our protagonist, Vin. She's the one that accidentally freed Ruin. But the genius part about Preservation's plan is that he was already prepared for this. When the Deepness returns, Norden, Ellen's scribe, discovers that exactly 16% of soldiers in Ellen's army that were affected by mist sickness, these soldiers were sick much longer than the others, up to 16 days. Some people even began to think they were cursed. But this was Preservation using 16 as a sign, since there are 16 known elementic metals. Later in the Pits of Hathsin, where the ATM is hidden away from Ruin, Elend discovers that these soldiers are the most powerful form of mistings, ATM mistings. And with ATM being Ruin's body, Elend commands everyone else to hold off the Koloss in order to buy them some time to burn the ATM, destroying Ruin's body. So basically all along, the Deepness, which was the mist, while being manipulated by Ruin, was actually Preservation's strategy of making an army of Elementers able to resist Ruin and use up all the ATM. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more like it, then please like and subscribe. I'm going to be making a bunch of more Mistborn videos, as well as a bunch of Cosmere videos just on all of the Cosmere books. The next series I'm going to be focusing on is the Stormlight Archive, and I am so excited to make videos on those. I'm currently taking notes as I read through the books about like every Spren and Chasm Fiend and Shard Blades, and I'm really enjoying the series, and I cannot wait to make videos on those, but I still have quite a few more Mistborn videos that I want to do. Let me know if there's anything you'd like me to make a video on down below. Also, don't forget that if you use the coupon code Mistborn in my Etsy shop at checkout this month, you can get 15% off your order. I designed some Mistborn bookmarks as well as the poster that you see behind me. I actually revamped this poster and it's now available in 11 by 14 inches. I'll leave links to all of that stuff down below. So I should have another video up pretty shortly.